Welcome to The Explainer, where we take fascinating ideas and turn them into clear, visual stories. Today, we're diving into the story of a Korean temple that, believe it or not, is said to hold an entire nation's destiny, carved right into stone.
So, have you ever been on an airplane, you look out the window, and just feel like you've entered a totally different world? I mean, you break through that thick layer of clouds and bam, everything just changes. Down below, there's all the noise, the rain, maybe the chaos of your day-to-day life. But up here, it's just this incredibly peaceful, silent sea of white. It really does feel like two separate universes, doesn't it?
And you know, this is such a powerful metaphor for our lives, right? You've got this divine, serene world up above the clouds. And then there's the world down below. The source we're looking at calls it a cauldron of life. I love that. It's where everything happens. All the turbulence, the messiness, the joy. And those clouds, they're like the boundary, the line separating these two ways of being.
And if you think about it, our lives are kind of like that flight. We're constantly moving between these two realms, you know? We have those moments of total peace and clarity, that above the clouds feeling. But then we have to descend right back into the beautiful, complicated mess of it all. It's a journey we're all on, every single day.
Okay, so with that idea in mind, let's talk about a real place on Earth that perfectly captures this duality. It's a place that's literally grounded in the Earth, but at the same time, it's reaching for the heavens. We're heading to Hwasun, Korea, to a temple called Unju.
So, what's the big deal about Unju? Well, for starters, ancient records say this place was once home to, get this, 1,000 stone Buddhas. Just try to picture that for a second.
And if 1,000 Buddhas wasn't enough to blow your mind, there was more. Standing right alongside them were 1,000 stone pagodas. So we're talking about a single valley filled with 2,000 individual massive stone carvings. It's just staggering.
And look, this isn't just some fairy tale or local legend. We have it in writing. There's an actual record from way back in 1481. That's over 500 years ago that describes this incredible scene. This was a real place on an absolutely immense spiritual scale.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The whole secret of this temple, its split personality, you could say, is hidden right in its name. Or maybe I should say its names.
So the name Unju can actually be written with two different sets of characters, and they mean completely different things. The first one means temple where clouds stay. See? It connects right back to that peaceful, divine world we talked about. But the second name, pronounced exactly the same way, means temple that moves a boat. Totally different vibe, right? This one is all about action, power, and having a very specific, world-changing job to do.
And that boat name comes with an incredible legend. The story goes that a famous monk, Dozyan Guksa, had this vision where he saw the entire Korean peninsula as a giant boat. The problem? It was unbalanced. The southeast part, filled with mountains, was super heavy, but the southwest, where the temple is, was much lighter. The whole boat, the entire nation, was about to tip over. So what was the solution? They built those 1,000 Buddhas and 1,000 pagodas right there, in the lighter part, to act as a massive counterweight and keep the whole country from capsizing. How cool is that?
Now, having a job that big, literally balancing a nation, called for a totally unique kind of creation. And that's exactly what you find in the art at Unju. It looks like absolutely nothing else from that period.
The style is often called form-breaking art. And that's because it basically throws all the traditional rules out the window. Forget perfect symmetry and delicate features. These sculptures are rough, they're asymmetrical, and they're just bursting with this raw, powerful energy. Honestly, it feels way more modern than you'd expect.
In fact, the source we're drawing from has this brilliant way of describing it. They say to imagine if Picasso suddenly showed up in ancient Korea. And he tells his students, all right, everyone, you have one day. I want you to carve a Buddha and a pagoda, but make them in a style that no one has ever seen before. That's the kind of chaotic, creative energy we're talking about.
And that little story actually explains so much about why the temple looks the way it does. You can almost see it happening. The super quick, nimble disciple whips up a tall 7-story pagoda. The one who's a bit slower only manages a 5-story one. Another one just carves a bunch of simple Buddhas to fill in the empty space. And then you have the really cunning one, who carves these huge reclining Buddhas right near the sleeping master, but he runs out of time to actually raise them up. And that's why, even today, Unju is famous for these incredible, massive Buddhas that are still lying on their backs, just waiting for the right moment to stand.
So when you put it all together, you realize Unjusa is so much more than just a temple with some weird-looking statues. It is a powerful symbol. It's the physical embodiment of a nation's deep-seated hope for balance.
And that whole idea of Korea as a boat, it's just as relevant today. The source describes modern divided Korea as a jokbae, which means a small, fragile boat trying to make its way through some seriously turbulent and dangerous waters. So what's Unjusa's role in all of this? It is the kunhyongchu. That's the Korean word for a balancing weight. These ancient stone Buddhas and pagodas, they're seen as the spiritual anchor for the entire country, providing the stability that keeps that little boat from being swamped by the storms of history.
And the ultimate hope, the big dream, is that this ancient, spiritual weight won't just keep the boat from sinking. The hope is that it will give the nation the stability it needs to finally raise its sail, catch the wind, and stand tall and proud on the world stage.
So there you have it, Unjusa, a temple that is somehow both a quiet place where the clouds come to rest and a powerful engine meant to move a nation's boat. And that leaves us with a question to think about, doesn't it? In our own modern world, in our own cultures, what are the ancient stories, the special places that provide the balancing weight for us?